everybody. Coming on here to do a little bit of a live stream tea time with y'all. Welcome to the tea. If you guys are in a place where you can make your own tea, this is your invitation to take a moment, chill out a bit, come have tea. Let's all relax. Welcome, welcome. Elf the Beef, welcome, welcome. Tam Say Meow, welcome, welcome. MM1 Pasol, thank you. Bladkin, Tea Time, welcome everybody. I got a couple live streams going over here. I have the YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So if I'm answering questions from another screen, that's why you know. And it's great to be here. It's great to be able to spend a nice chill Saturday with everybody having a little bit of tea. And let's get started. I'm gonna get started by warming up my gwan. This is a process that I do every time I make tea, but I don't usually put it in the video just because it takes up extra time and people want to get to the tea and they don't want to just see water splashing around. But if you warm up your gwan before you make your tea, you can put the tea in before, and then just kind of the residual heat of the gwan will allow kind of the tea scent to start coming out. And this is kind of like a fun first step, like a preview step of the actual tea that you're about to have. So welcome everybody. Great to be able to see everybody here. Questions over here, say good morning, how you doing? Doing great. Hello, I'm drinking rose hip and apple tea while watching you. Welcome, awesome. For those of you who don't know, I'm Jesse, I'm a tea guy. I lived in China for 9 years, probably 10 if you count the time that I've gone back now. So around a decade, and I'm big into tea. And I have a tea page on the internet where I make tea videos for people and answer people's questions about tea. And today, I'm very happy to share, we have some cool stuff that's coming out in our next subscription box that I want to show you guys. So this stuff is going to be launching very soon, next week, as early as next week potentially. And the first one is this golden pearl oolong. So this is another oolong that I have on the site. This is Taiwanese. This is a really nice kind of a little bit of a different oolong from what we have so far. It's got a light roast to it, so it's got a little roasty flavor, but still some nice sweetness from the oolong. I'll talk more about that later, but I want to get to this guy, which is the pièce de résistance, the big thing. I worked a year on this thing, and I'll show you what it is. This is a mini tong. So a tong is a type of, here, I'll show you a bigger one so you can see as well. The traditional way of wrapping puar tea was to take 7 cakes of tea and put them in bamboo and wrap them all up in a tong. And we have these hand-wrapped teas that were made just for us. And this is not just a tong of any tea. This is 7 different tea coins from Sister Eyes Mountain. I have a couple of them on hand here. You can see the tea coins that come out of this thing. All right. And there are 7 different flavors in each of these tongs. And if you like the mini tong, and by the way, everybody who's a subscriber will be getting a mini tong in November. You can also go for the big boy, which is a 7 times 50 gram tong that we have. Oh, it smells so good. 7 times 50 gram tong that we have a couple of as well. And those come with the big tea cards in the big tong, and then the mini tong comes with the mini tea cards, which all have the steeping instructions and stuff like that on the back in a QR code. So these are very exciting. We spent literally a year figuring this out because it has 3 teas that have been on the site before and 4 new ones. So the 3 that have been on the site before are the Sister Eyes Everyday Red, Sister Eyes Everyday Shung, and Sister Eyes 1000-Year Tree Red Tea. The 4 new ones, we have a new Ancient Tree White Tea. It's only new in the sense it's a different crop. It's still the same white tea. It's just, I believe it's 2022, so it's a little bit younger. And then the 3 other new ones that we have an everyday golden cake puar. So if you've seen the golden cake on my website that I've been selling in 100 gram cakes, this will be a way to be able to get a everyday version of that, just cheaper, bring the price down. That golden cake was very expensive because the leaves were very expensive. But an everyday version of that, an everyday Sister Eye show puar tea. We haven't had a show puar from Sister Eye on yet. So this is really exciting. Everyday show puar tea. And then the final The one coin I don't have because I used it for my video yesterday is Sister Eye's Black Beauty, and that's a novel production type tea. So what that means is Sister Eye basically invented her own methodology for creating that tea, and she combined parts of raw puar, red tea, and white tea making in the process to create this Black Beauty tea, which is like it's so good. And I finally, after years of working with Sister Eye and restocking several times, managed to get her price down on that to the point where we could buy it. Because they do spend a lot of time and energy on it. It is expensive, the production process is long, but it's gonna be really cool. So these are gonna be available in the holiday season. This is gonna go to everybody who's a subscriber. If you want to subscribe starting in November, you'll have that option, and I'm just very excited to do that. So I'm gonna give you guys a choice of two of the new, like here, actually, you know, I'm gonna give you the choice. I kind of want to drink this one anyway. This is the Sister Eye's Everyday Show Puar in the coin, and so I'm gonna do this one. Very, very cool. Questions over here. When is the UK warehouse opening? So the most update I have on that is that we spent, after the UK destroyed the some of our teas going over, we thought that it'd be quick in order to get more stuff over and get it through again. But the UK customs just takes forever. And this time, because we had it destroyed the first time, we basically sent the papers over first so that they had the hard copies of the original papers already in the UK and approved before we even sent the tea. And so all of that process, packing the teas, blah, 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 getting everything over. We have the GABA Oolong already landed in the UK, going through customs, which should be quick because they pre-approved the papers. So I expect that if nothing goes wrong, next week we'll be opening the UK warehouse and going from there. And everything seems on time to be able to get our subscription, the next subscription box, open there as well in September. In November. But hold on, let me start making the tea and then I can give you updates, because we do have a lot of updates. But like, how cool is this? Very, very cool. Somebody was saying, I checked out the Taiwan video trips, you should totally go back to the Jufro. Somebody was saying that I should grow out the Jufro, and I was like, if you want to know what it's like, it got pretty big up in January of 2024 of last year when I went to Taiwan. It's a lot, man. I mean, like, I like it, but I don't, you know? But it's very, very, you know, we'll see. So, the UK warehouse as well, notes on that. Just in general, for the subscription. So this is going to be in the new subscription box, and because I know people are going to want to try more of the new ones, every subscription box also comes with this little bag, which is just 4 more coins, one of each of the new 4 teas. You can have a second tasting of it. I just want to make sure to give everybody a little bit more tea. Even though these are really nice, you know, there is 7 times 8 grams, so like 56 grams of tea in here. Here's another 28 grams, and then this is 75 grams, and we're getting up to a pretty good count for the price of the subscription. It's actually a really good deal, especially because these are all tied by hand. Isn't that cool? These are all wrapped by hand. That's awesome. So those are going to be available starting in November, and I also had I'm going to be sending everybody an email, and I announced it already on the Discord server, but we're going to be moving, instead of from a launch day to a launch month for our subscription. Normally, all the subscription hits August 1st, whatever, May 1st. But we couldn't do May 1st because of the trade war. We managed it August 1st, but then we have problems with the EU and the UK. And really what I've learned is that I'm in 4 regions now. We have America, Canada, UK, and EU. I have 4 warehouses. It's a lot to manage. There's really no way I can guarantee that everything will be over and all the papers will be done and every different country's customs will be going through it the exact same day. And I don't want to make everybody wait while we're waiting on the last one. And so what I've just decided is we're going to move to a launch month. And you're not going to get charged until we're ready to actually send you the tea. So if you get charged, it's because your tea is on the way. If you want to join the subscription, you can join at any time in the cycle, but if you join before the teas are available in your region, you'll just be on a wait list for it to be delivered. And this is going to actually save us so much trouble. I don't like telling you guys I'm going to be delivering tea on a certain date and I can't do it because there's this, that, or the other customs issue. Ooh, this smells really good. we see the coin in there. So when we open this up, you'll see the difference between the coin and the thing. The coin and what it looks like when it's unfurled. I'm going to reheat this to 100. But yeah, so this is the subscription is still going to go forward. I'm still going to be able to do everything. It's just instead of promising one specific date, which really I don't have the power to keep in this new world where trade is so difficult. In the old world, I succeeded at doing it like 11 times. And in the new world, it's just not possible. There's too much customs is too much of a mess in the United States, and even in the EU and UK and all these different places. You know, in the EU, there was a shipment of electric bicycles from China that was that was like the papers were wrong, and people were smuggling huge amounts of electric bicycles into the EU. And now the EU is like 10 times as strict on all goods coming in from China, and it's like a real mess. We have all the papers, we will get them through, but it's like, it's really scary and it just takes a lot more time. I just can't promise you guys it's coming one day. So we're having a launch month now, November, and I hope everybody's okay with that. Questions over here. Kaiju Ball says, I'm a trucker looking for tea on the go. Do you have any recommendations? The tea resins would be really good for you. Do you have any resins near me? I bet I have the resins. Hold on, let me get a thing of the tea resins. They're over here. Yeah, so these are the most convenient, easy to make thing that I have. So they come in like a little tin like this, and inside you can see there's lots of little tablets. And then basically you just take one of these tablets, you unwrap it, and you just dissolve it in warm water. I find it generally works better with like, not like, you know, backed quite a bit off from boiling, but still like warm. And then by the time it's dissolved in there and you're ready to drink it, it's like really good drinking temperature. They're actually not, I didn't make these, like, oh, I made them in the sense that I hired the tea farmers and I picked out the leaves and I did that. But it's originally a technique that was made during the tea horse road trading route hundreds of years ago, when they wanted to pack as much tea as possible on the backs of donkeys, because they would travel them all the way to Tibet and then beyond. And so when you want to pack a lot of tea together, you find very creative ways of doing it. For loose leaf, you pack them in tongs. That holds a lot of tea. And then for the tea resin, that's how they made that. So that would be my recommendation. So I'm going to answer more questions. I'm sorry I've missed your questions. I've just been giving updates on the subscription and stuff. Launch date. Oh, and the other important update is starting on Monday, as long as all my tech works out, we're also going to be adding the tariff charge to the US store. So I believe the I don't know how much I need to add, because every product is a little different, and even just the math of figuring out how much to add because of the tariffs is really difficult. But I was holding off on adding this entire year in the hopes that it would be reversed or potentially even refunded. The Supreme Court is still looking at whether any of the tariffs were legal in the first place. But it's left the businesses in a tough position, because I don't want to raise the prices, lower them, raise them, lower them. It's kind of a mess. But we can't go through the holiday season having paid all these tariffs in cash when they come to the port and then not making them back somehow. So we're going to be adding something to the site that is going to raise the price of all of the goods on the American store by 14%. That is not going to cover all of the tariff fee that I'm taking, but it's, I think, a fair number that it's going to be taking care of a big chunk of it. And then I'm going to do the math at the end of the holiday season and see whether I paid more in tariffs than I took in from the tariff fee. And then I might adjust it probably going up in the future. I think this is the lowest possible number that I could take that has a chance of actually paying for the tariffs that I paid for already. So if you want to order something from the site this weekend, you're not going to have to pay that tariff fee. You know, I'm not making a huge push about this in terms of marketing, because I've already paid that tariff. So if you buy something now and you don't pay, like, I still paid. But I don't want to just spring it on everybody with absolutely no warning. So I'm going to be letting everybody in the Discord server know at the end of this live stream, and I've just told you guys now. So we are ready to go. Lots of updates. Very excited though. Questions. What if you're in Canada? If you're in any of the non-US markets, Canada, UK, EU, no price change. It's just applied to the people buying from the US store. If you're buying internationally a product that is in the US store, you will have to pay because I had to pay to get it into the US. So no one's gonna rebate me if I wind up sending it outside. This is part of the reason why like tariffs like this have not been a serious use like political tool for the last 100 years. They're very disruptive and are not really even efficient at, you know, getting revenue. So, by the way, cheers. Very nice. Yeah, that's really good. Just like a great fresh, little musty, earthy show, but like also a little bit easier drinking than it's less rich than Doidoi's 2010. And I think it's smoother than Yunqing's 2010, or Yunqing's 2013, the other two main show puar on the tea site. So, cheers. Very, very good. I'll say I have a lovely lisp. Thank you. I don't know. I just talk like this, man. I've never been diagnosed with anything. It's never really affected my life. Great. Over here. Questions. Please tell me when the teaware will be on the UK warehouse shop. It'll be on there when everything opens. All the tea stuff has actually been in the UK for like 3 months. I was going to delay the release until we had the tea, and then the tea got held up. It's really been a mess. So, but we will be open for the holiday season, so everybody can get excited for that, for sure. Questions over here. Hey, is there an expiration date for green tea? Some people that say green and white tea have to be consumed within 3 months. No. So green tea is best if you drink it the year that it's made, and that's because it's freshest then. It'll lose flavor and scent, and just like it just gets less good as it ages. White tea is the opposite. If you have white tea, you can age that as long as you want. And you know, I have a tiny canister over there of 30-year-old age white tea that is very, very good. It's actually probably like 33 by now or something like that. So yeah, green, but even like on my packaging for legal reasons, I have to write like expiration date. It's really just like the tea world and the formal packaging world have different sets of rules. So I might write on the green tea box that expires in 3 years. I would still drink it year one. And the reason I say in the first year, as opposed to like within 3 months, is like, yeah, if you drink it within 3 months, it's gonna be freshest, but then you have to wait all year for your next green tea. So like you basically wanna time it so that you're finished drinking last year's green tea around when the spring/summer comes in the next year. So hope that answers the question. Lots of questions over here. How have the UK approvals been going? So we have a new strategy now for the UK, for shipping into the UK. As I said, we send the original documents by mail that we need to import the tea to the customs people and get pre-approval before we send the goods. That's the only way I trust any of these systems now. So the result though is that it's been a lot of the delay. Like we've been ready to go except for these 2 teas for a long time. But I just don't want to have this like jaunted launch where like everything is still back ordered and the tea isn't there and the subscribers aren't happy and the pre-orders aren't made out. It's really messed up. So we're working on it to make sure that in the future we make sure that everything goes through. The first of the 2 missing teas has already arrived in the UK. The second one is on its way to the airport, and we're air shipping everything over to get it going as fast as possible. So hopefully the ones that just arrived are going to pass through customs very quickly, early next week, and then as soon as they arrive, I'm ready to start. We have everything ready to open up the moment that they're ready. So we're going to go with that. Great questions. Hey, I'm a friend from the UK who's trying to pick up some of the tea for the Christmas. I've noticed that when I drink tea without milk, I feel a little bit sick. I've heard it's because of the tannins. Is there any way around this? Yes. So first of all, everybody's stomach is different, so I can't say 100% sure what you're going to feel when you taste the tea, but a lot of the British teas that you drink are they're made from the Assamica variety of tea leaf, Camellia Assamica, and the ones specifically that are grown in India and Sri Lanka and Kenya and in the former British colonies, which is where most of the British get their tea, that stuff is like bolder and more tanniny The Chinese tea comes from Camellia sinensis, and it's a different subtype of tea plant, and it tends to be sweeter and less tanniny. So whether you have a lot of tannins is more likely going to be to what type of tea you drink and whether you oversteep it, understeep it, that sort of thing. I don't think that you'll drink this tea and be like, it needs milk or sugar. In China, people don't mix it with milk and sugar, and it's not because they're like, you know, monks. It's like, it just really, most people drink it and don't feel like it needs it. That being said, I'm not gonna tell anyone how to take their tea. If you wanna drink your tea with the milk in it, you can still do that. I would recommend though that you at least try it with the steep temperatures and all the you know, every product of mine comes with some form of info card where it's going to tell you how to be able to make the tea, and it'll have like a video instruction as well. So like, you know, we do what we can to try to help you make the tea as well as possible. Yeah, great questions. By the way, you remember what that coin looked like? It's coming apart now. So we have the coin is opening up. This is the Sister Eyes Everyday Show Puar that's going to be on the website in November, so not that long for you guys now. Very nice. Baller. Couple more questions. By the way, if you're just joining, I'm Jesse. I'm a tea guy. I lived in China for 9 years, probably 10 now, if you count the time that I've gone back. Very dark. Look at how dark that is. Ooh. That's darker than coffee. Look at that. Very, very cool. Very nice, earthy Shupu. Oh yeah, that's really nice. It's crazy. It's dark like that, but also so sweet. You think the dark is going to be like overwhelming, but the flavor is still really smooth. I really like to see. I had it loose when I tried the sample, and then we pressed them into the coins so that we could fit them in the mini tomes that are coming on the site in November. But I hadn't tried it as a coin yet until today, so I'm very excited. It works great. Great. Questions over here. Thank you so much, Hayward, for giving me some hearts on the all sorts of gifties over there on the Instagram. Thank you so much. A question asking, am I in Fujian province? No, I'm in Los Angeles, so no province at all. Rum Brave says excited for the everyday show. It's a good one. It's an everyday show. It's actually, I was very glad when I drank it. I was like, this tastes like an everyday show. It's not too much of anything. It's not trying to be crazy here, crazy there. It's just good drinking. I would drink this regularly. There we go. All right, what do we got here? I quit drinking this year, and the immense variety of teas have been a wonderful thing to explore. The very first black tea I had shocked me with how dark and tasty it was. Thank you. That's great. I'm glad to hear this sort of thing. I got a message today from somebody who was telling me that they were also in recovering from alcohol and drug use, and that the tea has been really helpful to them. And I'm going to be making a video next week, sending him a cake of tea as a thank you, just for letting me know, and just so glad that it's actually helping people's lives. It really has some power there. People, I think, because in America at least, I don't know about other places in Europe and around the world, but in America, I really feel like the tea has kind of been disconnected from the tea culture. It's like a beverage. You order it, you take it to go, you throw a tea bag, you don't even think about it. It's kind of like, it's been disconnected from all of this, from the equipment, from the methodology, from the communication of people to people. The whole concept of what tea is in China especially, but really all throughout Asia, especially the areas of Asia where tea is grown, where tea is like a local crop. Like, it's just so deep there, in the same way when, you go to Italy and Italian food is Italian food. You go to France and French food is French food. And then, you come to America, and a lot of these cultures, by the time they come here, like, it's hard to get that pure thing. What America does well is the mixing. Like, I'm in Los Angeles. If you ever want to have like Korean tacos, like, good, like spicy Korean meat in tacos, LA is great for that. But like, you know, I think one of the fun things about going to China, you see the culture as kind of how it is in more of a pure form. And after you see that, you're not surprised that people are like, this helped me quit alcohol. It is a thing. It's a full-on thing. In the same way, like stand-up comedy, which I did for many years and continue to do, and I have a book coming out in February, which you guys should get. I'll let you know more about that. But stand-up comedy is like, it's not just a person saying things. It means a lot more when you know the culture that it comes from and what it means about speech in our country and the ability to be able to talk and you know, discuss society. It's much more than like telling a joke. Similarly, like tea in Asia is much more than like having a drink. And so that's the reason I've been able to come on and make a tea video every day for almost 5 years now, which is nuts. Cheers, thank you. Questions over here. Genuine question, I've gotten, crap, hold on. We have so many great questions. Genuine question, I've gotten some pu'er tea from a local tea and coffee shop, but how is it supposed to taste since I experienced a very earthy but almost fishy tang to it? Yeah, lower quality cooked pu'er has that fishy taste that a lot of people don't like. And it's almost, unless you're going to a specialty tea shop that specializes in pu'er, or that is really a high-end tea shop that has a couple pu'ers, like you should not expect to get good pu'er in America. It just doesn't leave China, because the thing about it, and you can watch a video on this, I have a video on YouTube that I released recently about, if you search Jesse's Tea House in Duidui, D-U-I-D-U-I, Duidui. We sit in his pu'er tea fermenting room as you see the process that the pu'er tea is undertaken to do the post-fermentation. They put it in these giant piles, and then they manage the heat of those piles very carefully as the tea underneath ferments, creates heat, and it kind of makes the whole thing kind of its own little like nuclear reactor kind of. And then that reaction creates the cooking flavor, that really dark, earthy flavor. But if you do it wrong, you also wind up with a bunch of fishy flavor, sulfur flavor. And usually when that happens, they say, crap, this batch is not great. Let's sell it to 1, Chinese tourists, 2, grocery stores, and 3, Westerners. So you can get a huge batch of really cheap cooked pu'er tea online and then sell it abroad, because you're not going to be able to sell it in China. So that being said, some people are very sensitive to the fishy flavor and smell it and taste it in all the pu'er. But usually if you get good quality cooked pu'er, the one I'm drinking right now, any of the ones on my website, you're not going to have that fishy flavor. You will have that earthy, dark, kind of like musty flavor, but it shouldn't be fishy. Questions over here. We have lots of things. I honestly just used the regular recommended steeping time and maybe a few extra seconds. Somebody was responding to somebody else. Try the steep times that I give you, but it is just a suggestion. It's not like this is the one way to make it. This is like, I made the tea a couple times. Some of the teas I make a lot, and so I really have them dialed down. Some of the teas I've made 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and then I'm like, that's how I want to do it. But that's just how I did it for my taste, and a lot of even those numbers, I say 20 seconds. Yeah, I might have done 17, I might have done 23. It's like, you can be scientific about it if that makes you happy and that makes you enjoy the process. But it's like, the tea does not need to be that scientific. If you have hotter water, steep it less. If you have cooler water, steep it longer. You can always adjust based off of what's going on to get the extraction that you want. So very, very cool. Green tea and good vibes. Hey brother, how you doing? I'm doing good. Green tea and good vibes, green tea, love it. Everything's going pretty good. Question says, this tea killed my dog. I'm sorry about that. I don't think that happened, but I'm sorry all the same. Cheers. Question from Fee Wen, which spring green tea from the sampler do you like best? Oh, that's a good question. So I have 3 green teas on the site right now. We have a Dragon Well Longjin, a green Anji white tea, a white Anji green tea. Its name in Chinese is Anji Bai Cha, Anji white tea, but I call it white Anji green tea because it has white tea in the name, which makes it confusing because it's actually a green tea. White Anji green tea, and then the third is the Biluo Chun, the jade snail. They're all really good. I think if I want a lighter white tea, I'd use the Anji. If I want a stronger one, I use the Bilochun. And the Longjing is just classic. It's like, if I just want the idea of green tea, that's what Longjing, that's what Dragon Well is when you think of green tea. All three of them are great. I'd say if you're looking for like basic, smooth, love it, that's the Dragon Well. If you want something on the lighter, sweeter end, that's the white Anji green tea. If you want something on the bolder end, that's the Bilochun. They're all excellent. It just depends on your taste that day. Questions over there. Great. Questions over here. We have a bunch of questions. Let me say, what is the best tasting oolong you can recommend? I have a lot of good oolongs. I think it depends. The first thing you want to choose is roasted or not roasted. So if you want something really light and crisp and like sweet water, the Four Seasons oolong that I have on the site is really good. The Alishan milk oolong has a really nice, rich, milky mouth flavor. That's really good. If you want something that's roasted, you can try, coming out in a few days, we're having the new Golden Pearl Taiwanese oolong come out. And but if you like roasted, like the 2-time roasted and the 5-time roasted Dongding oolong that I have on my site, both of those are excellent. If you don't know how much roast you like, get the 2 times roasted. It's, I think, really good. It tastes roasted, but it's not overwhelming the flavor. The 5-time, it also doesn't overwhelm the flavor, but it's smoky. It's almost like a cigar. Like the scent is almost like a cigar. The taste of it is still sweet and crisp, but it is smoky. If you like smoky, the 5-time would be an interesting experience for you. And also, I just recommend starting with the 2 because it's cheaper. Because we get those smoked traditionally by charcoal roasting method, by hand in small pans. Each pan can make like 2 kilos of tea. So they're running like multiple pans of these with Longenwood charcoal, and making the 5-time takes about a month because so good. Because you have to roast the tea for a day under very low heat. They take Longenwood, they turn it into coals, they put it in this like giant pot, and then they cover that with ash. And if they cover it with more ash, the heat is less. And if they cover it with less ash, the heat is more. And they use the amount of ash to control how hot the heat is, and it evens out the heat very evenly because it's diffused through the ash. And then they have a giant bamboo basket with like a wicker, with like a mesh, what do you call it? Like a net, like a mesh net on the bottom so the tea doesn't fall through. And they put the tea spread out very evenly on that net, and they let it slowly roast, and they come every whatever hour or so, and they redo it again, and they do this for 8-hour sessions, and that's 1 roast. So the lightly roasted, we have 1 roast. The 2 times roasted is 2, and the 5-time roasted is 5. And you have to let them sit for a day or 2 in between. So if you want to roast it 5 times, it's 5 days of roasting, 5 sessions, 2 to 3 days in between each time. You know, pretty quickly you're looking at a month to make that tea. So that's why it's $32 US a tin for 50 grams, which is, you know, still a pretty good price for something that takes a month to make. And a lot of resources, but it's really good. And then the 2 times roasted, I think, is $25 instead of $32. So it's significantly cheaper. So very, very cool. Questions, can you explain the dry method for a tea ceremony without the tea table, or what's needed? Yeah, I can do that. I mean, let me bring my dry steeping board out. Hold on. So, here we go. Yeah, so basically the dry steeping method, you'll notice over here, so start with what I'm doing over here is called wet steeping. You can pour water all over this table, you can pour tea all over the table, and it drains through this tube into a bucket underneath my table. That's the wet method. The dry method, I'll put up the table right here. This is a dry steeping tray. We have these on the site. They're walnut wood and resin, and they're all hand poured one at a time. Like we have the factory that we work with literally goes and selects out the pieces of wood, arranges them all a little bit differently, pours resin, and then it's a really nice tray. The small ones are $38, I think. This is a small one, and then there's a, where's this the big one? I think this is the small one. It's been a while since I put them side to side. But anyway, either way, they're basically there to be able to be a dry steep. From there, you have a couple things that you do. You can use a gwan or you can use a pitcher. But basically, you would be taking your gwan or your pitcher, all of this stuff up here. You'd be very careful not to spill onto the tray when you're pouring out your tea. And obviously, of course, you can have your cup. And then if you do need a spill, you have an extra bowl on the side. That is your spill bowl. And I like putting a tea pet in the spill bowl, so you can kind of have him take a little bath over there. And the spill bowl can either be on the tray or off the tray. I usually keep mine off the tray because part of the whole point of this is to kind of keep the things more, sort of set up over here. But yeah, so you can see over here, this is basically what you do. You have your equipment. This can get even simpler if you have a teapot without a filter, or the filter is in the teapot. So you don't need to use the filter. And that means, if you had a teapot, whatever it is, this is my friend Doidoi's mini Kyushu teapot. So if you had a teapot, this would be back up here. So this would be here, no filter. And so, basically you have a much more simple setup with just the teapot, the cup, and the pitcher. And you can arrange those on the table however you like. I just kind of like this triangle. So that's the dry steeping method. I usually find that I usually find that if I go on the porch, I take the dry steeping one out there, because that way I don't need to deal with any tubes. And when I'm sitting at the place where I make tea normally, I like having the wet set up because I like being able to spill everything over and on the tea pads and everything like that. So it's just a preference of how you want to make your tea. And we have both of them on the website, although I don't talk as much about the dry steeping one. Not because it's not important, not because people don't do it, but just because I tend to make my tea at the same place every time, so I can put a bigger kind of setup here and a wetter setup, and it's all kind of okay. And then I tend to make the other, the dry steeping on the porch. And because it's on the porch, I tend not to shoot too many videos out there because I live in downtown LA and it's loud out there. Even just the air conditioning unit from the other building over there, if you ever watch any of the videos where I'm on the porch, you'll notice they're always muted, or if they're not muted, there's some background hum. In the video I posted today, there's a little bit of that. So anyway, great questions. Questions from Betsy Underpants. I began loving tea because of your TikToks. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Welcome. Yeah, like and follow. It's really, really fun. Question. My birthday is 25 November. I'm in the EU and want to try some good tea for you. Any recommendations? Yes. By that time, this will be available, which I was saying over here. These are the mini tomes that are going to be launching in November. And these are 7 different flavors of tea from Sister Eyes Mountain that have all passed the EU registrations. We got 626 pesticide tests done on each of the 7 teas. And so you can try a little one if you want to try each of the flavors, or you can get the big one, which is 7 times 50 gram cakes. And they come inside, I'll show you, they have the tea coins. They're all these little coins. So each of the coins has the different flavor on it. You can see what it is. And each of the coins also comes with a info card, which on the back has steeping instructions and a QR code for that. And those are gonna be, I'm very excited about this because we're gonna have these available in the US, in Canada, in the EU, and the UK. And it's gonna be my first time of hopefully pulling it off, of being able to have the new subscription come up and everybody in the world can get it. And I feel bad for our friends in New Zealand, and we have people in Malaysia that have tried to order, the Philippines, but we have almost the whole world covered now between these 4 warehouses. So I really hope that my job goes back to just being finding the good teas and away from this whole opening up warehouses abroad, which has been such an enormous amount of effort and hassle over the last 18 months. But it's all going to be worth it because, one, we don't have to pay the tariffs. So whatever the US does, if we import it directly to Canada, UK, EU, we just pay the local tariffs. There are tariffs there, but they're very low in Canada and they're reasonable in the UK and EU. The tariffs in the US are historically high, obviously because of the new policies. So that's going to be really fun. So I'm excited to get those out to people. Greetings from Belarus. Good, love it. Love our, very hopeful next year I'm going to do a trip again to the EU and be able to hit up a bunch of places. I know there's a tea festival in Prague every year. I know that there's I met a guy from the Netherlands who runs a tea shop, and so he might be doing something. Very, very cool. Question says, thank you for the detailed info on the cards on each tea. Yeah, the cards are, yeah, and for the big tong, for this guy, we also have the big cards. You know, I've heard people collect these. They are pretty nice though. But like, look at how cool that is, man. You know, so on the front, we have kind of the steeping information. You can see there, each of the teas. Love it. Excellent. Very, very cool. Yeah, but I spent a lot of time on those cards, and they're not necessary in the sense that like most other brands don't do this. They don't design them, they don't print them, they don't put them in all the packaging. Even just the hand labor of getting something like that added into a box like this, it costs money. Even in China where the labor is fairly cheap, it costs money. It costs a lot of time and attention that our team has to go over the packing process with every single vendor. It's like we spend a lot of work to get those cards into the bag. But I think it's worth it because it means that you don't need to worry about how to make the tea. At least you have a suggestion for how to do it. But two, it's just like I feel like the number one thing that's stopping this from like being big is just the fact that like it looks intimidating. There's a lot of stuff here you don't know about or you've never seen. And if you can speak Chinese and you live in China like I did, one afternoon at the tea market, you kind of like have a lot of knowledge. But unfortunately, we're not able to get everybody in the world one afternoon in the tea market speaking Chinese or with a translator. And so like a lot of this stuff has to come to you in another way. And the way that I've tried to do that is through the cards. So there we go. Cheers. One moment. Boom. Cheers. Questions over here. What is the most expensive that you spend in the company that you cannot avoid? I think you mean what's the biggest expense that I can't avoid? It's a good question. What's the biggest expense I can't avoid? I mean, like, obviously, biggest expense is buying all the tea. So like buying the product, but that is something I really can't avoid because we are getting tea that otherwise would never have left China, which means we need to compete with the Chinese tea market. We're not getting the tea that's grown for the Westerners. So this is, I think, the biggest thing that people forget is that when people are buying tea in the supermarket in the West, it was meant to be grown for that company. And that means that it is grown according to the quality and education of the local market. So if people don't know a lot about tea and don't care about tea and are willing to just drink whatever is in a tea bag, they get bad tea. And the good tea never leaves the country of origin. It's a little bit more complicated in places like India, where the entire tea industry was planted by colonial powers specifically to service the West, in which case they get bad tea, not because it's staying in the local market, it's just because the colonial capitalists who made the tea company in the first place never had any interest in making good tea, and so they grow bad tea, or it's not bad, but it's like, it's not at the same level that the Chinese tea is. It's grown for the local Chinese market, where people are willing to pay 2, 5, 10, 100 times what people in the West will pay for tea. That tea is really good. This is what I get to send over. So I go to China every year. You can go back and see, I already went twice this year. I spent 3.5 months in China sourcing tea for you guys this year. made lots of content. It was a ton of fun. Thank you again. I don't want to make it sound like hard work. It was a lot of fun. It was hard work, but it was a real journey I get to go on because of you guys. And that tea, when it goes out, we have to get special papers to be able to get it out because like all our farmers are not used to selling overseas, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want a farmer who's like, the Western market is ripe and we're gonna give them, whatever, peach, mango, blueberry, oolong. And I'm like, no, I want the tea that like the real tea scene people are drinking in China. So that's kind of how it goes out. So that expense we can't really do much about. Our employees help make this whole thing possible, so that's obviously not an expense we can do. I'd say the biggest expense that is like, in my mind, like avoidable and should be avoidable is probably the credit card fees. Like I think we pay Shopify something like 3% of everything to process these credit card payments. 3% doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of money. What did they, like they didn't do 3% of the work. They just took the payment and sent it over. And so this is why I get kind of frustrated. I live in LA and there's so many crypto people here. And this is why I get frustrated at crypto, because I'm like, this technology is exactly what I need, like very cheap international transfers without needing to transfer from American dollars to Chinese yuan and everything like that. And I do business in the EU now. We're losing, international orders is like 5% of transfer fee. Like 3 to 5% of every order is just going out the window to the finance companies. And so I was like, all the crypto people, I'm like, you have the technology to solve my problem, but instead you're like speculating. And also to be fair to the crypto people, like the countries themselves, no country has a really great, well thought out crypto policy. Some countries are just like basically using crypto as like basically being able to scam people. And then other countries are so afraid of it, they won't open. But like, that's probably the biggest expense that we spend that is like, I feel like could be reduced, but I don't know. That's kind of not a tea question. I don't want to go over there. Can we get a house tour? There's not much to tour. I mean, I live in a big studio, but still just a studio here in LA. I'm actually looking at moving soon. I don't want to make any announcements yet, but I'm going to be staying within LA one way or the other, but I'm thinking about getting some more space because I moved here 4 years ago, which is nuts. I can't believe I've been in LA for 4 years. And I moved to the studio back when the tea company wasn't making any money, and I wanted to just basically like save as much money as I could while living in LA, which is kind of a misnomer because it's not cheap here. Even the studio is probably more expensive than I'd be spending in another place. But I wanted to kind of live well within my means, and then over the last 4 years, the tea company has really done well, and so I'm very glad about that. But I'm also traveling a lot, and so it's like it hasn't been a priority to move. But I'm hopeful that I'll be moving into a bigger place soon, and I'll let you guys know about that because there could be fun tea-related projects related to the move. We'll let you know. But if I am able to move, it is because of you guys supporting me, jessesteahouse.com, going to the website, getting the stuff. Don't buy tea because you want to support the move. I don't want to give money to, like house people, but this is how I make my living now through the tea company. And I still do comedy shows, and my book is coming out too. I'll make a little money from that, hopefully. If you guys pre-order it, I have the advanced copies of my book sent to me by the publisher. Check this out. So this is my book. This was funnier in China. So I spent a decade in China doing Chinese comedy and apprenticing to a master performer. And this is the result of all of that. I spent 8 years writing this book. It's going to be coming out. You can pre-order it already on Amazon if you want to, or all over. I'm going to be making links about all this sort of stuff. And it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of great stories in here. The actual book's gonna be hard copy, but you can see here, this is the advanced copy that we sent to people for reviews. And, very, very cool. Got my picture on there. So this is coming out February 2026, and I'm gonna be making a lot of content about this. I really hope you guys buy the book and help me out. It's also, I think, if you're even a little bit interested in either comedy or other cultures, like the book is all about going to China and learning how to do comedy and make other people laugh. So if that sounds interesting at the very least, you know, I think you'll enjoy the book, even if you're not like a huge, you know, traditional Chinese culture nut. But I started working on this in January of 2018. And it's coming out in February of 2026. So it's like, you know, it's a big thing that I've been working on, and I'm going to be doing a tour. I'm going to be going around probably LA, San Francisco. I have a gig. I'm going to be doing a gig in Richmond, Virginia, maybe DC, New York, Boston, and probably Austin, Texas as well. So that, you know, looking on my hand, it's like 7 cities already. So that's going to be really, really cool. Will the book be available in Germany? I think you can order it from Amazon from the US. But if you like the book in Germany, what you could do is, you know, I don't know exactly how, but like, you know, if you know any publishers or whatever, you say, I want to read this book in German, you know, send them my way, because we could sell the German language translation rights and make a German version. It would be really cool. I'm very hopeful that we'll get a Chinese version of the book made. And it's just going to be very, very cool. So cool. So yeah, so all of that is to say though, like the book, you know, make a little money off of the book, but it's not, you can't really make money off of books nowadays. I just think the story is super important. I apprenticed to a master teacher in China who taught me comedy. He gave me that fan. I'll show you as an apprenticeship ritual. This is the fan that I got when I apprenticed to him. You can see over here it says, you know, 爱杰西徒弟，拜师留念. 爱杰西 is my name, Jesse Appel. 爱杰西弟子 is disciple. 拜师留念 is memento of apprenticing to a master. This is Master Ding's seal. I'm sorry, that's the seal of the Xiangcheng Society. Written over here, it says 弄月嘲风. 弄月嘲风 means joke the moon and satirize the wind. And the idea being that a true comedian should be able to make jokes about anything from the moon to the wind. And then over here it says 师丁广全, so Master Ding Guangquan seal. And then 2014. The date of the apprenticeship ritual. And so the book is basically about me studying with Master Ding, and just like all the lessons I learned from him, both in comedy and life. And you know, at that time, you know, I moved over there right after college. So it's like me as like, you know, 21, 22, 23, trying to figure out anything about the world, which I didn't know much about. And I was in China. It was a whole thing. So it's going to be a fun story, I think. Get that back on. There we go. He also gave me this thing, which you may have seen on my table, which is it's a block of wood that is inlaid with a little bit of silver. And this is called a xingmu, or a waking up block. And that's because if you're doing Chinese comedy, in the old days, especially before there were speakers and lights and stuff, you go to a comedy show now, everybody's talking, and the show starts, the lights go down, everybody knows it's time to start the show. But what do you do back when you're in the time before the lights change and you're in theaters, and maybe you're even out on the street telling jokes on the street, which is how the comedy form started. You use a xingmu to start off. Oh, and now everybody looks over and you're like, 我说说你听听，再想当初大宋朝文彦博幼而道有无学之志，司马文公道有破瓮之偶之谋，韩孔融4岁就懂让你谦逊之礼，史三郎5岁朝天，唐柳燕7岁举翰林，韩晃相9岁问起奉亲，秦刚罗12岁有宰相之才，武周有13岁百位水之都督，吞带1000只万马，执掌6军81州之兵权，吃苦肉献连环，借东风烧战船，吃曹操望风熟窜，见妾丧命将。 江南，所以乌龙和凤雏这相帮，那周瑜才算是小孩子中之魁首。Like that. You hit him with the bits. So that's all in the book. This is funnier in China. You can pre-order it on Amazon if you want. I don't have the links ready for you yet, but if you see it on my page later in the next 3 months, make a pre-order. Get a free show. Very, very fun. We'll do a couple more questions here and then probably get going. I haven't left the house today and it's nice out. Might go to trying to maybe go hunting in the gardens, try to do something else. So very, very cool. Very good. It was impressive and intimidating. It's like the art form is it has a special speaking technique. The idea is that you should speak in such an interesting manner that it draws the audience into the performance with every word. It's a part of the old folk technique of the Chinese comedy world. So very, very fun. Cheers. Do one or two questions over here. It does have any relation to traditional Japanese comedy. A lot of the Japanese forms, like if you've seen manzai, I believe it's called manzai in Japanese, manzai in Chinese. That is based off of this art form that I studied, the two people going back and forth and back and forth. There's also a form called rakugo in Japan, which is a single person kind of sitting at a table telling jokes. And that is very similar to the Chinese pingshu. A lot of this stuff came over from like Chinese court entertainers and then was adapted to Japan. The specifics of xiangsheng inspiring manzai, I'm less educated about that, but I know that it basically was the Japanese saw xiangsheng and they made their own version of it. It's faster paced than the Chinese version and a little bit more slapstick, but that's the way it is. People are asking what tea I'm drinking. We are drinking a tea coin, from the new mini tome that's coming out in November. This has 7 tea coins in it, and each coin is a different flavor. And the flavor we're drinking right now is Sister I's Everyday Show Puar tea, everyday cooked puar. And this is a new flavor that's going to be on the site in November and is going to be available in the mini tong. It's going to be available in the big tong, and it's also going to be available in 50-gram cakes in like a box like this. This is not the actual one yet because those have not arrived yet, but the 50-gram cakes are going to be like that as well. So basically we're going to have a new series where you have a way of being able to try all 7 flavors with the mini tong and in the tea coins. And you're going to be able to pick the ones you want to either get an individual cake or to get, at the discounted rate, 1 of each. So I think this is, make a great gift, people. Just saying, you know someone in your life who's going to be super excited to get 7 different flavors of tea and 50-gram cakes in a mini tome. You know them. Just saying. Really hope that we can... I also think we're going to sell out of those because I was a little bit conservative about how many we made because there is a lot of tea in here. This is 350 grams of tea. So like, if I don't sell them and they sit, it's kind of a problem. But I think that people will buy them. So very, very cool. We're Abbott and Costello inspired by it from Yost Shore. By the way, cheers. Always a good friend of the live stream. So the best like American description of the comedy style I studied is vaudeville, like Abbott and Costello, 2-man, straight man, Joker type thing. I don't think that they directly inspired themselves. I have a theory, which is, back in the old days of performing with the technology you used to have, which is just kind of the human voice, and then especially in the area of like radio, that's when vaudeville really takes off because all these vaudeville performers that are doing like Abbott and Costello 2-man style shows performing all around the country on stages, now all of a sudden they can take radio routines of their best jokes and they can put them on the radio and everybody in the whole country can hear them. But there's still no visual. So that back and forth pacing of it, I think creates a really uniquely good comedy style for radio. And so I think there's just something about radio that makes these traditional art forms that were kind of around just kind of blow up and become a much bigger piece of comedy in general. All of that and more you can read out in the book. This was funnier in China, which is coming out very soon. So this is in the book. I'm gonna be pitching this book so much, guys. You gotta eventually break down and get a copy. Questions over here. Will the tea resins restock on the Canadian shop in November as well? Yes, the tea resins are coming in probably in about 2 weeks to the Canadian shop. They were supposed to arrive last week, but there was a typhoon in Southeast Asia that delayed all of the shipment of all the November stuff over to Canada. So this is why, as I said, if you missed the announcement from the beginning of the thing, our subscription club is moving from a launch day to a launch month. And that's just because I have 4 warehouses now around the world, different customs. There was a typhoon in Southeast Asia, which delayed Canada and the tea pets for America. And there is the EU is fighting with China because of an issue in the customs because of somebody else's electric bike payment, and the UK people are always horrible. And so, like, I just can't say one day anymore. It's coming in November, and it will be there in November. And the ship that is bringing the new mini tomes and all of that stuff to Canada is also carrying the tea resins. So whenever it arrives, It's supposed to come November 1st. Then it'll take a week or so to get into the warehouse. So I don't know exactly, but they will be available in Canada. We have all the tests for them where it was much easier to get them into Canada than it's been to get them into the EU and UK. They just have very different systems. So very cool. Questions? Any Chinese restaurants / tea shops in the LA area? Finally, chance to explore the city I've been living in for the last 3 years. Well, you should join our Discord. And in the Discord, there's a SoCal sub chat, and there's an LA meetups sub chat. And so you should come to a tea meetup sometime. I'll probably be doing a tea meetup sometime in the next 2 weeks or so. So you can keep an eye on that. Probably not next weekend, but the one after that maybe, like November 8th-ish. And then I don't know about tea shops because I have my own tea company, so I don't really go to other tea shops, so I can't say which of them are good versus bad. Chinese restaurants. I always love the Kong Kong food court in Alhambra. I heard they shut down because of a health violation though, but in my mind, that means that I was getting the true authentic experience, right? I was always great. I never got sick. I don't know what's up. So I don't know if they actually got shut down or not. I just saw a post that said they did, but you know, the internet is weird nowadays, so I don't want to drag Kong Kong food court, especially because I love them. They're great. Yeah, Kong Kong food court in Alhambra. If they are closed for the health inspection, when they're open, go. Very good. Hello, do you speak Polish? I do not. Although my family traces their ancestry back to Poland/Russia, depending what side of the border you're on or what year it was. The border kept shifting across that area. But my family was Jewish, so the Poles wouldn't have thought of them as Polish, and the Russians wouldn't have thought of them as Russians. And everybody in my family that was still in Europe was killed in the Holocaust. So we have very little connection anymore to Europe. Questions, can you tell us about that one mystery tea that is coming out? I'm not sure which mystery tea you're talking about. Or if you're talking about the mini tong, this has 7 teas in it, and it has 4 new ones, a new white tea. It has the Sisterized Everyday Puar, which is what I'm drinking right now. It has Sisterized Everyday Golden Cake, which is a type of golden cake puar, is a type of puar that's made from the yellower leaves. And so it tends to have a sweeter flavor to it and less tannin and less sort of that dry mouth feel, but still has a lot of really good tea energy. And then the best one is the Black Beauty. The Black Beauty is so good. I think the Black Beauty is, in my opinion, even better than the 1,000-year red tea. And the 1,000-year red tea is really damn good. So it's like, it's pretty intense stuff. The best part about the Black Beauty is just how much flavor's in there while it's still being really light and easy to drink. Because like sometimes if you have like a very rich dark puar, you'll be like, that tea is delicious. And also it's almost like drinking ice cream. Like I kind of can't drink lots of it. But the Black Beauty, you can keep drinking over and over again. And I even made a video today about cold brewing the Black Beauty. So it's like, it's very good. That's very good. I want to see the ox tea pet. I would love to show you the ox tea pet, but as I said, we spent 3 months working on this ox tea pet. It's the winner of our tea pet competitions. We have a fan who made a design. They won the competition. We had the design sent to China. The design was put into a mold in the same way that our rat tea pet, which was our winner from our last competition, who I love. Look at this guy. Every time I look at him, I like him more. And then that we did all this work to be able to get it to people in time, and then there was a typhoon in Southeast Asia that delayed the boat by 3 weeks. So that boat is still on its way there. So this is why I said we're moving from the subscription from having a launch day to a launch month. As soon as the stuff comes in the month of November, it's going out. But I can't plan any further ahead than we did. We're already planning 6 months ahead for these tea boxes in order to find them, source them, design the package, come out with a thing, ship them, get them to the warehouse, and have them sent out to you. It's a massive logistical challenge. I honestly think our logistics team is killing it, and we still can't guarantee it's coming on one day anymore for 4 markets: America, Canada, EU, UK. So we're moving to a launch month. And so at some point in our launch month, you will be getting your teas, your tea pets. If you only ordered the tea, it'll ship out first in the US. In other markets, we might have them already at the same day. We're doing the best we can. So it's really cool. Questions over here. To be honest, dude, I never cared. What was the questions over here? For be honest, I never cared for your for tea. Your content is dope and really funny. Oh, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the tea as well. But you know, I'm happy. You know, I'm a performer and a comedian at heart. So I even though the tea company has gone way better than I expected, I still kind of see myself as a comedian who runs a tea company rather than a tea boss. So cheers. Boop-a-doop. There we go. Bam. We'll do one last steep and then I'll get going. I've been on already over an hour. Yeah, so 1 or 2 more questions and I'm ready to go. Over here, somebody just followed me on TikTok. Thank you so much. If you're watching and you like the tea, follow, do all that stuff. Like, you know, go to the website, jesseseahouse.com. Again, we're adding tariff charges to the US site on Monday. So if you want to get in before the tariff charges come in, this is the last weekend. I don't want to push it too hard because I paid tariffs already on all the stuff that's on the site. So if you don't pay, it just means I don't get paid. But I feel like I might as well tell you guys while you're on. If you're interested enough to be watching the live stream, you deserve to know. And on Monday, the tariff charges are going to be added to the US store. But we've figured out a way so that they will not be added to the Canadian, UK, and EU stores. Which makes sense because only the Americans are paying for the taxes I paid in America. Questions from VMP Hunter says, "Hey Jesse, you're the best. I love your videos. Thank you so much." Questions says, "Lame but understandable on the tariffs." I know, man. I just like, and the thing is, I'm still not even charging people the full amount. I'm gonna add a 14% surcharge to every order, and it's just like that's probably not even going to cover it. But it's just such a mess because the taxes, the tariffs on the Taiwanese teas and the Chinese teas are different. The taxes on different product types are different. The taxes are different depending on what time they came in because the law has been changing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Are they fighting? Are they not? Are they fighting? Are they not? What deal are we in? It's just been total chaos. It's a horrible environment to do business. And if I were a non-American who didn't live in America and have family in America and a market in America, I would wait until the political situation calmed down in America to do business here. It's not to say you can't make money, but it feels more like China than it's ever been in the sense of having very powerful leadership at the top that is operating from a political perspective, and that's making it difficult to do business where you want kind of like, you can have a good law or a bad law, but as long as the law doesn't change, as a business person, you can decide what to do. But if the law keeps changing, you know, that means that you really don't know what to do. So it's a tricky time to do business, and it's especially hard on the small businesses. So, hey, Jesse, it's Kelsey. Oh, Brandeis reunion is this weekend. I wish you were here. Hi, Kelsey. Yeah, live spooky, die spooky. We got my improv team, troupe people on here. False advertising for life. Hope you've been doing well. Let me know if you're ever in LA. You can message me. I think you still have me on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. So very, very cool. Enjoy the reunion. What year is my next reunion? I missed a bunch of these reunions because I was in China. I graduated in 2012, so I guess the next one would be 2027. There's probably a 15-year reunion. That's nuts. I graduated college that long ago. I'm like a real adult. That's crazy. Cheers, everybody. Hope you're having a good one, Kelsey. Improv group and customer. Thank you so much. I didn't. You got some of the tea. Thank you so much for supporting the tea. You know, remember me holiday season when you're making gifts for your family. Appreciate it. Very good. Very cool. Where do you live now? What city are you in, Kelsey? You don't need to say it too specific on the internet if you want. What do you get if you're forced to go to Starbucks? I get hot chocolate. I just don't get tea out. Like, I don't really drink coffee, and you know, the downside of having probably literally the best tea in the entire city of Los Angeles in my apartment is I just don't buy tea out. I'll buy milk tea or boba, but that's kind of like ice cream to me. It's kind of not, it's like tea adjacent, but it's not really like tea. So that's where I'm going. Outside of Boston. Oh, great. I'll be back for Thanksgiving. I mean, send me a message. I'm going to be back in Newton for Thanksgiving. So I don't know if you're going to be around at Thanksgiving, but if you are, maybe we can do a tea time or something like that. Very cool. So glad to run into your live. As a chef in the Midwest, I'm introduced to a whole new world of tea, and I was forever grateful to you, Jesse, and your speech at Congress was incredible. Thank you so much. It's great to hear, dude, like the tea channel is reaching chefs in the Midwest. That's cool. One of these days, I want to do a tea and food tour of China and take like food people, like chefs, food creators, those sorts of people all over China, drink the tea, eat the food. There's so many good flavors over there, man. Like food in Asia is really damn good. I think the food in the West, I think overall the quality for the price is probably higher. If you want like good or really good food, like just like pure meat, fish quality over there, it's a little bit harder. But in terms of flavor, the spices, the techniques, really, really damn good over there. And it can be really cheap. So like you can eat really well in Asia. It's one of the reasons why when I moved back to the States, I basically just had to teach myself to cook Chinese food because it was so good and so cheap, and then you live in America and it's expensive to go out to eat. So it's like, you know, I'm lucky I can afford to do it now whenever I want, but like, you know, it's not sustainable to just go out and eat every day. Also, you get unhealthy if you do that here. It's like there's a lot of fat and stuff in the eating out food. Somebody's asking over and over again, what do I get if I'm forced to go to Starbucks? I answered that. I get hot chocolate. Very, very cool. What's one of the things? Chris Mula says, you're one of the most influential people on my journey to reprogram from America's view of China. Oh, wow. Thank you. Keep up the good work, and thanks for the tea. Thank you so much. It's like, I think I get a lot of support and a lot of hate and a lot of stuff when it comes to like saying good things about China. And it's not that I'm like pro-China. It's like, I want everybody to be, I think if we're all grounded in reality, we're gonna make better decisions. If people knew more about China and the way it is, and at the end of it, they're still scared and upset and frustrated, I'm kind of okay with that as long as it was based on reality. But we have these really weird systems that have been set up where the Chinese internet is severed from the rest of the world. They have a firewall around their own country. So very little stuff from China gets out. They also don't allow a lot of foreign journalists in. So that means we don't know what's going on over there. Even me as somebody who goes to China a lot, I need to go to China to figure out what's going on in China. That doesn't mean it's all horrible. Just like, you know, people are like, oh, well, why aren't they letting us in? It's like, it's a very complicated reason why they're not letting us in, but it doesn't mean that everything is horrible. There's a lot of good stuff going on there and a lot of bad stuff. I think very similar to other large countries. A lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff, a lot of stuff. But because of this, and in the West, because we can't get in, and because there's, you know, we run a market-based media system where the news that makes money gets reported rather than the news that's true. Because of that, it's just more profitable to make horrible stories about China over and over and over again. If you have a story about how like some minor change in a local Chinese government policy saved water usage by 20%, that's not interesting. If you're like, gutter oil killed 3 people in Chengdu in 2012, like gutter oil is a problem everywhere for all time for everything. That makes a lot more money. You'll make a lot more money getting those sorts of views. Does it mean that gutter oil doesn't exist? Of course not. It exists somewhere in the same way, if you go to like a restaurant on the side of the highway somewhere, how often are they switching out that cooking oil? It's hard to tell. I don't think it necessarily means anything about China. And a lot of the issues that the West is kind of like uses as like bad issues about China, a lot of them happened 30, 20 years ago. So that doesn't mean that they're not real. It doesn't mean that people weren't really affected. But generally I can use as a compass to tell whether somebody is like truly interested or not. If they're saying like gutter oil, you sell tea, don't you know about gutter oil? The people who really care are the ones who are like, oh no, people over there are suffering because of food safety issues. Nobody's ever actually like, oh no, how do we help these people who are eating gutter oil? They're like using gutter oil and stuff like this as an example to be able to attack China, usually for profit in the West. Sometimes it's because they genuinely believe it, but it's a weird crusade to take on to worry about food safety in another country that you have no interest in, and you're not even importing the food from there. You're just saying it so that people feel bad. I don't dig that. And so I think that when you actually go to China, yeah, there's a lot of problems, but there's also a lot of good stuff. And especially when it comes to tea, there's really nothing even close to comparable in the United States in terms of quality of tea, depth of culture of the tea. It really is, it's like its own thing out there. So I try to approach it more from the idea of like, I'm a person who lives my life between the two places. And I realize that it's like, all I need to do is keep the camera running, show what's actually happening. And if you show what's actually happening, people will have an opinion that's more based off of reality. And if at the end of that, your idea based off of things you've really seen with your own eyes, ideally go yourself, but if you can't, at least watch people who are trying to show the world as it is. If you come out of that still hating China, I can't control your mind, man. I will say that having been open to a lot of this stuff, and I've met so many good friends in China, it's clearly made my life so much better to approach it with an open mind. And I think that for almost everybody, it will also be better for your life if you approach it with an open mind and realize there's stuff like tea, like the food, like the culture, even stuff about the internet. Like one of the reasons that this account has done well is that China is generally 3 years ahead of the West when it comes to social media. A lot of the stuff here, like we have TikTok Shop now. It was open in China for like 6 years before it came to the West. Like I lived there, I saw it coming. I was like, I can make tea videos, and if it really does well, eventually in the West, they will catch up to where China is now. And it's an unpopular opinion in a lot of places in the West to admit that China could be in advance of society in any way, shape, or form. But if you have 10 things, it wouldn't be surprising if America's ahead of 2, China's ahead of 1 or 2, and then, somebody else is ahead of 6. It's just the reality is there's no monopoly on being, out on the forefront of the world. And usually that has more to do with, like, very complex political things that have nothing to do with the intelligence of anybody. If Chinese social media is out in advance of everybody else, in my opinion, it's because the rest of the media is basically banned or run by the state. So all the creative energy that in the US is spent on television, radio, HBO, Netflix, social media, all the media. In China, if you're a creator and you don't know anyone in the state-run industry, you just have internet. That's all you have. And so all the creative energy from the entire country gets flooded into the internet, and as a result, the internet develops faster and comes up with better technology and better ways of doing things, or at least more advanced ways of doing things than we see here. Because if you're a creative in America, you have the option of making a movie and airing it, or a TV show, or you can move to Hollywood, or you can do it in your garage. You have all sorts of options. There you have one option, which is the internet. So it's a very interesting place. Anyway, that's kind of not tea related, but last things, just to give everybody the final updates. November, get ready. The mini tong with all of the different 7 different tea coins, 7 different flavors in there. That's coming in the November subscription. The lightly roasted golden pearl oolong is coming in the next subscription. The big tong is coming in the next subscription. All 7 of these teas are going to be available in the tea coin and the 50 gram. And we are also moving our subscription from a launch day to a launch month. So the launch month is still November, but depending on where you are, what market, what you ordered, you may be getting your order sometime in November. You won't be charged for it until it's sent out. And if you have any questions, you can email tfriendsupport@jessie'steahouse.com or leave a message or PM me or something like that, and I'll try my best to get back to all of you. And thank you so much, and it's been great to hang out and have tea with you all. I'm Jesse. Have a great time, guys. Bye-bye. There we go. Bye-bye.